Let's start with some keys to victory for both teams in this ball game. And for Oakland, I think number one, defensively, it's about making Joe Flacco work the short passing game. He's a deep ball thrower, one of the best deep ball throwers in the game. They do have some outstanding weapons on the outside in Steve Smith and Mike Wallace. Make him earn each and every passing yard he gets, and that starts with those safeties being able to take away the deep passing game and force him to work short. And offensively for the Raiders is about keeping that running game going. I like what I've seen so far in the early part of the season from the Oakland Raiders running game. 3 backs have had success, and I think that type of balance only helps out their passing game. And if they can run the football versus Baltimore, I think it'll go a long way in helping them win the game. And for the Raiders in this ball game, that offensive line of Baltimore, I like what I'm seeing from Ronnie Stanley, the rookie left tackle. They have to make sure they keep the Raiders pass rush quiet. The Raiders right now are having issues as far as getting to the quarterback is concerned, which I think could open up the running game for Baltimore in this contest. And also defensively, the interior pressure has to create havoc. Right now, I don't think anyone is playing as well as on the interior as both defensive tackles for the Baltimore Ravens, Tim Jernigan and also Brandon Williams. So if they can create havoc from the inside, that's a big-time matchup in this ballgame. The Raiders guard to guard versus those 2 defensive tackles of the Ravens. That's going to be the matchup Baltimore has to win throughout. This week versus the Baltimore Ravens, I believe, is going to be important for this Oakland Raiders defense to create turnovers, and one way they could do so is try to force Joe Flacco to throw into a trap defense. The Raiders secondary is playing extremely well, and I think they can do creative things to influence a bad decision. Show you what we're talking about here. One route concept that the Ravens love to run is one right here. They're going to send this guy in a short motion. They're going to work this tight end up, and he's going to push down the seam. They're going to have this receiver on the outside. He's going to push up into the corner. You're going to have the guy that just went in motion. Once the ball snaps, he's inside leg of the tight end. He's going to run a short speed out. So what this is designed to do is throw off coverage here with the corner and safety and force those guys to either pull up, and now you have one guy wide open or one guy in one-on-one coverage. But if you're the Raiders, what you're trying to do is trying to force him to throw it here to this speed out. And how you can do this, again, from a pressure standpoint, you're going to rotate up. So you're taking away backside. Here, you're going to rotate over, safety. He's going to try to get in between this passing window where Flacco can't hit this seam right here. So pressure here. Rush lanes are your traditional rush lanes. You want him to clog the interior. You want this defensive end to push through this tackle. And now with the backer here, his job is to slow down the tight end's release because he's coming off the edge. Now, Flacco sees a guy coming off the edge. He's thinking, I have to go to the hot read because you have the safety pulling over top, and the corner is drifting. But what he's doing is baiting him to throw it here because he's coming right back around and hopefully picking this ball off there, and it's off to the house. So this is one way you try to influence a bad decision. You show double coverage on the corner, but really he's peeling back and taking out this speed out, this hot read for Joe Flacco because everything else is taken away on the backside and also with the tight end. So this is one way I believe the Raiders in this ball game versus Baltimore can influence a bad decision from Joe Flacco. In this matchup versus the Oakland Raiders, I think the Baltimore Ravens have to get back to basics in their ground game. I'm going to show you one way they can attack the middle linebacker with 2 blockers. Show you what we're talking about here. Simple ISO play, but we're going to pull the backside guard, and we're also going to have a full block with the play side guard and also the tackle. So we're going to have this tackle work up, get the backer. He's replacing him, kicking out that defensive end. He's going to get a good block on this outside backer and work his way up to that strong safety. And now we're going to have the center block back. Boom. Kicking him out. Bang. Leading up in the hole, getting that backer. That's what we're talking about. Reverse out, hand the ball off, carry out the fake. So simple run play, but you're pulling both guards and influencing these defensive tackles to fly upfield. They're going to get themselves blocked and trapped. The defensive end is going to get themselves trapped. Now you have an offensive lineman and your fullback, your lead blocker, both on the Mike backer, which should help spring the tailback for a big gain. So again, who can get the ground game going early and often in this matchup between the Ravens and the Raiders could ultimately determine who wins the game. I believe the biggest X factor in this game for the Oakland Raiders will be the play of their defensive line. They can't give Joe Flacco all day back there in the pocket. That's going to allow Steve Smith, Mike Wallace, Dennis Pitta to get deeper down the field in which he can have some success in the passing game. So this Raiders defensive line has to awaken and apply pressure to Joe Flacco. And for Baltimore in this ball game, I think their passing game will be the biggest X factor. Right now, I like how they're attacking deep down the field. Obviously, Joe Flacco
has to do a better job of protecting the football. I think they can allow their passing game to open up their running game, because if they can have balance in this ball game versus a defensive line of Oakland that has had issues in getting pressure and causing havoc, it could be a long day for this Raiders defense. I like the Raiders in this ball game. I think overall their offense is much more balanced than what we've seen from Baltimore so far this season. And defensively, their secondary, despite the yards giving up, is very active, and I think they match up very well across the board versus this Ravens receiving core.